we had a massive crash, one that I have, we hadn't seen an impact like this in a really long time. We certainly haven't seen an impact like this with the next-gen car, where Kyle Larson gets turned sideways, comes back across the track into the path of Ryan Preece, and Ryan Preece nails him right in the door of the passenger side of his car, nearly almost wide open. I mean, Ryan's trying to get through the crash. If you saw the in-car footage of Ryan Preece, man, violent. And it's all over social media if you haven't seen it. Pretty incredible, just to show you what the drivers go through during those type of events. And we also saw a quick shot of the passenger side of Kyle Larson's car and what appeared to be some relatively severe damage and destruction to the roll cage of the car. So the center section of the car, the four points that surround the driver, have always kind of been a very good focus for NASCAR. In any kind of a horrific crash where cars are flipping, tumbling, getting ran into, and so forth, making sure that those 4 points are always secure and that nothing intrudes on that has been kind of that's the main, most important thing to pay attention to in a crash. And now we have a next-gen car with some intrusion there. And NASCAR has decided to take both of these cars back, which is such a smart thing to do. Obviously, you definitely want to be able to look at the 5 car, find out how the welds ripped apart and broke, how the door bars basically folded into the interior of the car, understand what can change there to maybe improve that scenario going forward. But taking the Preece car, that is really where the answers to this whole puzzle lie. And let's go back to last year, drivers backing into the wall and getting issues with concussions and so forth, and just verbally discussing about how hard those hits were. These really mundane, hits that we'd seen for years. Drivers were having problems with them. Even talking at Martinsville and places like Martinsville and the Coliseum, how just traditional bumping in the corner was really severe and overly difficult to manage. NASCAR went and looked at the rears of these cars, made a lot of changes in the offseason to try to improve how they absorb energy. One of the things that they have on this car is this aluminum bracing, and it's kind of a webbed piece there's, I believe, 4 of these on each end of the car, 2 on the outside corners and then 2 in the center, that basically mount the bumper of the car to the chassis, to the front clip and the rear clip. And for the most part, I believe those pieces went relatively unchanged during the process of NASCAR making the rear clips crush more and absorb more damage. And so when I saw this crash and how the 41 car kind of speared into the 5 and how it damaged the roll cage, I thought to myself, man, I wonder how those aluminum braces performed in this accident. And so I got in touch with some people, and I think that this is what NASCAR taking the 41 car back, they will see, I believe, that this is a great area for them to pay attention to and to focus and improve on. The front, we've made some great gains in the rear clips of these cars to allow them to absorb more hits, but now this is a chance for them to look at the front clip of Preece's car, particularly those aluminum braces that web out to the front bumper. Now, how can we allow those pieces to absorb way, way more energy in a head-on collision like that? Because without them being able to destroy themselves in a crash like that, they do become that spear that's going to drive right through that roll cage of the 5 car. Mm. That would have been a nasty wreck. That would have damaged the roll cage of that race car regardless. It was a hard hit. But the amount of damage, I'm sure NASCAR feels, is far, far too much. And I think that the answers to the solution are more in the nose of the 41 car than in the door bars and how to improve the welding and gussets there.
Okay. Just to recap here, you're basically saying the way they put emphasis in the rear, on the rear clip and its ability to crush and dissipate and absorb energy, you're saying that they need to start focusing on the front clip particularly as you're saying that Ryan Preece's car showed that it did not crush at all. And you keep using the word spear. So these struts, this webbing you're saying did not change anything. And that's in fact what completely destroyed and moved bars into places that they don't belong.
Yeah. Those mounting pieces, those aluminum mounting pieces that mount from the clip to the front bumper are actually present in both the front and the rear of the car.
But the rear crushes better.
Nope.
I'm sorry, say it again then.
All right. NASCAR made a lot of changes to the back of the car in the off season, but these pieces remain relatively unchanged.
Got it.
All right. They're on the back and the front. I think that is a new area maybe where NASCAR can see how those pieces can change so that they destroy themselves. You know, they made, I believe, you know, in my opinion, this is my own opinion, NASCAR wanted to make a car that could handle impacts and so forth, but these pieces would relatively survive so that NASCAR wouldn't, or so that the owners wouldn't be afforded the costs of replacing all these pieces week after week after week. And so maybe in that attempt to try to make a car that's more cost effective and more durable, you know, these pieces have been made too tough,
too durable,
durable.
Yeah.
And so I'm speaking about these aluminum pieces that are they're boxed. They're big webbed boxes of aluminum basically that hold the bumpers on both ends of the car, and those didn't really move or change a lot in form and shape during this crash. And I think if they absorb, they should destroy themselves. They should be unrecognizable when you look at this 41 car. And I think NASCAR has a great opportunity here, and I am 100% confident that they are going to make some great adjustments to what they see. When we look at the car, it's a scary thing. Now, I have to say, if this impacts on the driver's side, I feel a lot more confident in the integrity of the roll cage for the driver's side of the race car.
Why is that?
The driver's side of the race car, obviously, the holes in the roll cage on the door at the door bars is boxed in. It's framed in by a plate. It's plated. But the tubing is also double tubing. And so all of that is built like a tank on the left side. There would have been damage, but I doubt we would have seen intrusion. But we don't want to find out, right? So I think NASCAR knows they don't want to find out in a real case scenario. And I'm looking at those aluminum braces on the front and back of these race cars, and I'm looking at those really hard and trying to find a way to get those to accordion and impact. And that will just have to be, and the issue, which is not a bad, this is the problem is now those will more likely be damaged in minimum impacts and have to be replaced. It's a cost issue, right? That I think the teams understand that they're going to have to incur going forward for these cars to be able to absorb these kind of crashes. I mean, we're seeing these cars have contact on the nose and on the back that would have destroyed the rear clip in the old car, right? And these cars bounce off walls and look unscathed. The shape of the car relatively unchanged. It's because of these braces, right? They're staying in place. The bumpers are staying in place. Everything pops right back out. So I'm excited. You know, I know this is unfortunate to have to go through this kind of a situation and see this kind of destruction to the 5 car and how scary that is, but I'm excited for NASCAR to have that opportunity to learn from this, and I believe they will.
Learned in a way that the guys don't seem to have suffered any major injuries.
Right. Yeah.
What a blessing that is.
Talked to both of them. Talked to Preece. He says he's sore, but and he says, of course, it was the worst hit he's ever had, but he's relatively good. And I talked to Larson, and he's like, I feel incredible. He's surprised at how well he feels.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah,
because I mean, again, we're not even a year removed from 2 guys suffering concussions, missing races. One of them ended his career, and Kyle Larson took that hit and didn't have anything.
The guy, so the guy who feels probably the best out of a very brief text conversation I had with each driver, Larson's. Hey man, I feel fine, 100%. Now his car absorbed a great deal, almost all of that impact. Right, door bars crushed into the center of the car, all kinds of destruction. Guy feels the best. The other driver who feels quite a bit sore, worst impact I've ever had in my life. I'm fine, but dang, his car, you could argue, absorbed minimum impact, right? Nothing around that car that you would typically expect to collapse, to crunch, to absorb energy did, right? That car basically, from the bumper back didn't. Not as much damage was done as what you see on the 5 car. So that should tell you in your mind, like, hey, okay, we got to get this 41 car in this instance to share some of the energy. Let's figure out a way for it to take on a bunch of the destruction and energy that's happening in that moment, so where the damage to the 5 is minimized quite a bit.